If you're going through a hard time right now, I promise you today's message might be a little bit of inspiration for you. At least that's my intentions, right? Is I want to provide some hope, provide some value, and just get you to think about things differently. So this is going to be a very stoic approach to this. I always like to coach members and just say, hey, anytime something happens in your life, you don't know what it's there for. It might be there to teach you, right? A lesson. It might be there as a blessing in disguise that you might not even think about or know about until maybe months or years even down the road, right? It's kind of like what Steve Jobs says. You can't connect the dots looking forward in life. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. And I love that. That's probably like one of my favorite, quotes or mottos of life. It's just like it gives you that sense of hope and inspiration. But what I always like to share with members is, hey, don't respond, don't react, take a step back and observe. I know a lot of people, they immediately get so emotional whenever a negative thing happens, whether it's a breakup, whether it's you're losing a job, whether it's you're trying your hardest to accomplish a certain goal and maybe it feels like you're not progressing, right? Whatever the case may be, people put more emotions into it. And then immediately it's kind of just like the world, the universe just kind of testing you saying like, see, you're not as strong as you think you are, plain and simple, where it's just like you're so eager and willing to, put the emotions right into play instead of just taking a step back and being cool, chill, calm, collective. And trust me, right? Like this is not exactly an easy thing to do. Like I think for me, right, the past several years of just who I am and how I'm always working on my mindset, you build up onto it. It's kind of like building up calluses or layers or muscles, I should say, where over time it definitely gets a lot easier. But I would say the easiest way to start is just think about things differently. And that's what today's episode is going to be all about, is a little story for you guys on how to think about things differently. And I do want to say this before we dive into that, how I did start off by, really thinking about things differently, at least for me, and putting this into practice, is I remember back when I'd be driving, to and from work or to and from school, years and years and years down the road. I remember somebody telling me like, or maybe it was a podcast that I heard or video, whatever the case may be, to really gain self-control over yourself is to not get heat up in the moment. And one of the things that most people, especially for me, right, I would always get heat up in the moment where, hey, your emotions play the part for sure, is with road rage. If let's say somebody cuts you off. And think about it, right? You right now listening to this. Let's say somebody cuts you off in traffic. You're going to work, you're going home, whatever the case may be. Somebody cuts you off. And immediately you get upset, right? You get mad, you get frustrated. But, right, we always like to say this. Once again, don't respond. Don't react, take a step back and observe. What if that person that cut you off in traffic was, let's say, injured and they're on their way to the hospital, or a loved one got hurt and they're rushing to, get home, or whatever the case may be? You don't know, right? And like that, this was probably the first thing that I practiced the most into getting more emotionally stronger, is you never know somebody's situation. You just always assume that, hey, you're the, it's your world and everybody's just living in it, right? Everybody just always assumes that. And so I always like to say this is just like, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. You might not know. And so instead of you getting upset with the road rage, you take a step back, you just think about it for a few seconds. That's all it takes. And just says, I really hope wherever that person's going, they don't cause any accidents. They get there safely and sound, like they're in a rush. They need to get there. And I promise you, if you start putting that into practice the next time you're driving and continue to do that, you're going to get such a more emotional edge over most people. There's a lot of people out here that, hate to say this, but especially with guys also, they lack the emotional strength, And if you study about, stoicism and just, great ancestors and whatnot, like I always admire them because, their mindsets were so sharp, a lot sharper than most people in today's society. And let's dive into this story that hopefully this just gets you thinking about life a little bit differently, right? So I like to say this is just like your story and everybody just has a role in it. Just like me, this is my story and everybody has a role in it. My family, my friends, my coworkers, my, clients, everybody has a role in it, right? You listen to this right now. That's your story. And maybe I have a role in it right now by you listening to this. Who knows? But regardless, this is your story and you're writing it. All right, now hear me out. You're going to have people that's going to come into your life. Some people are going to be in there for maybe a page or two. Others are going to be in there for maybe a chapter or two or several. And then you're going to have people that's going to be in your book of life, right, for start to finish. That's just how it is, right? They're going to take a big chunk of it, And maybe those are your family members, maybe those are your close friends, whatever the case may be. But regardless, you can't flip the pages forward because nobody can. Nobody can predict the future. Nobody can, guess anything out there. You never know what's going to happen. This is why I always tell everybody is like, time is precious. Not trying to be scarcity here or have a scarcity mindset, but time, everybody is a ticking time bomb in terms of just like the hourglass of sand tipped upside down. And when you have no more sand in that hourglass, that's it. You can get hit by a car. You could, something could happen. You could get sick. Like, you never know. And so it's just like, you got to make sure that your time here on earth is spent, right, doing the things that you want to do, going after the ambitions, the dreams, the hopes, everything. But at the same time, you have to realize this. You're probably also going to have, right, some pages, some chapters, maybe, several in other people's books. So what is the legacy that you're trying to leave? What is the characteristics that you're having, right, that's affecting others or impacting others, I should say. So it's just like, you don't know who's going to come into your life. They might be in there for a season. They might be in there for a reason. They might be in there for a lifetime, right? But how you impact that person, right? You're also going to be in their story. So it's like you want to make sure that you're doing good to others, just like how you wish others would be doing good to you, right? The golden rule, right? Treat others how you would want to be treated. So it's just like, it's a non-emotional way to look at life. It's like, hey, people are going to be in there. People are going to be out of the story. Plain and simple, right? Let's take the emotions out of it. Let's make sure that while they're here in this book, right? Here in my story, we're giving them a worthwhile experience to where, hey, when I'm also in their story, right? Maybe they're talking about me to their friends. They're talking about me to their family members. And I leave that person with a changed mind or a changed heart, having such a positive impact on them. And I feel like if we all had that same mindset, this world would probably be a lot better. Honestly, the world would be a lot better. And I think so many times people are just too selfish. They think it's their book and that's it. And everybody that's in their book, hey, they're in my book now. They're going to be in my book for the rest of my life. I'm going to hold them tight, right? And leave it at that, and they don't care about anybody else's books. It's not the way to live life, right? The way to live life is honestly by, realizing this. And like I said, it's kind of like a stoic approach to this. You're taking the emotions out, I'm not trying to sound like a Debbie Downer here, but like literally, you're going to die one day. I'm going to die one day. So what is the legacy that we're leaving? What is the impact that we're having on other people's lives? How are we going to be remembered? And, Muhammad Gandhi said that, if you want to change the world, start with changing yourself first. And I love that. I love that quote. Simply because you have to be the change that you want to see within this world. Right? You want to change maybe your family. Start changing yourself first. You want to change with your community or coworkers. Start with changing yourself first. And it doesn't have to be this whole night and day difference, right? This big shift. It doesn't have to be like that at all, right? It could be the little things, like maybe you're holding the door open for somebody walking in. Maybe you're saying thank you more. Maybe you're saying you're welcome. Maybe it's a small little text reminder to somebody you haven't talked to in the past several months or years, just saying, hey man, thinking about you, brother. Just like, hope everything's going well. Like the little things really do add up, honestly. And I think so many times that we don't realize here that our time on earth is finite until something happens to either somebody we know, somebody we heard about, whatever the case may be, or something happens to us. Maybe it's a sickness, maybe it's an injury, right? Maybe your doctor's telling you a bad report, whatever the case may be, and then it kind of hits you as far as like, wow, my time here on earth is limited, because it is. And this is why it's just like, you got to make sure that this book that you're writing every single day, every single page has an impact. You're living your life for meaning. You're living your life for purpose. And I challenge you to think hard and do some soul searching. What is that impact that you want to leave on other people? What is that purpose that you want to start living for? It's just like, take a step back. Don't respond, don't react, observe, right? To get your overall view. Hey, you're going to die one day. I'm going to die one day. Hate to say it, right? But that's the reality, I'm going to, do my best to live my life here on earth, make a huge impact. We're trying to change as many people as possible, leave this legacy for my son. But I know for a fact, generations to come, my kid is going to have some kids, their kids are going to have some kids, and down the rabbit hole, no one's going to know my name, right? That's the reality. So it's just like, what can I do to leave an impact? What can I do to just say, hey, how many more people can I change to, in hopes, leave that legacy to have my name remembered? And maybe that is using Heartletics to, be this amazing, thriving business that helps, individuals become the best version of themselves mentally and physically, and that lives on for generations to come. But regardless, I can't predict the future. No one else can. So I got to make sure that I'm doing what I can today to leave the biggest impact. And my call to action for you that's listening to this right now is, how are you living your life? What are the pages of this book that you are currently writing? And remember, you're the author, no one else, right? No one's forcing you to do anything. No one's forcing you to go to work. No one's forcing you to do this, right? Like, it's all up to you. You're all in control of everything that you do. You're the author. So what are the pages that you're writing? And also, like, the people that's in your story, that you're also probably in their story as well. You're in their book as well. So what is the impact that you're having in their lives as well? And that is what I want you to remember, is that regardless if you're going through a hard time right now, let's just say that years down the road, it was all meant to be. Maybe that hardship, maybe the people that came into your life and they're no longer there. Hey, they were in there for a few pages or maybe even a few chapters, right? And it might be hard. But regardless, you might look back, fast forward chapters down the road and look back and say, I know why that person was in my life. It was there to teach me something or make me a better person, or whatever the case may be. And I'm blessed and I'm grateful to have them in my life. Me personally, right? I've had my heart broken several times, right? I'm a strong, confident individual, right? But me is just who I am. I got a lot of emotions. That's just me, plain and simple. And I wear my heart on my sleeve. And, before I met my beautiful wife, Allison, I had my heart broken several times. Very, very hard breakups that I had. But regardless, it's like, hey, instead of looking back and being upset about it and being bitter about it and, upset, it's like, I'm grateful that those breakups had to happen. They sucked in the moment. They definitely did. Like, no one wants to go through that. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody, right? One of them left me very, very, just mentally, emotionally destroyed, right? Very just I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. It was very, very dark places that I was in for several days, months, years, right? It was horrible. But regardless, I'm blessed that I had to go through those hard times because it made me as the man that I am today. It made me stronger emotionally. It made me stronger mentally. It made me view life differently when I was in those dark days. And so looking back at it, I was very grateful, right? I am very grateful for those hardships. I am very grateful for those breakups, because, in the moment of reading this book that I'm currently writing, hey, I can't see the light at the end of the day. I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? This is hard, right? My book might be over. That's how I was feeling in that moment, But regardless, hey, we carry on and we survived. And we are here today to say, hey, I'm really glad that that happened because it made us better. And that's why I always like to say pressure builds diamonds. So my call to action, once again, is how are you living your life? How are you living your life? What is the story that you're writing currently right now? Because remember, you're the author. And what are you trying to do to live the biggest impact in other people's lives as well? To leave that legacy and be remembered. How are you living your life?